In 1982, the American music industry was mired in a severe recession, with unemployment hitting a 4-decade high, and major record labels laying off employees in the wake of the worst year of record sales in history. The vibrant disco era of the late 70s had collapsed into a virulent "disco sucks" backlash, leaving the industry in a creative and financial lull, where popular music was perceived to be in a major slump. Some experts even feared that recorded music could not survive the rising competition from video arcades and home video games. It was in this bleak climate that producer Quincy Jones walked into the studio on the first day of recording and set a legendary mission for his team. Okay guys, we're here to save the recorded music industry. Michael Jackson's own ambition for this project was equally monumental, still stemming from what he perceived as the industry's failure to fully recognize the genius of his previous album, Off the Wall. Jackson set out to create something unparalleled in its quality. He was frustrated by the standard industry practice of releasing albums that featured only 1 or 2 hits, padded with mediocre filler tracks. Drawing inspiration from Nutcracker Suite, where every song is a killer, Jackson was determined to produce a pop album where every single track was strong enough to be a hit single. His goal was a masterpiece with no B-sides, a bold vision that he believed would not only outperform his previous work, but would go on to become the best-selling album of all time. To achieve his goal of a filler-free masterpiece, producer Quincy Jones assembled an elite group of collaborators he called his Killer Q Posse, or A-Team. At the heart of this team was English songwriter Rod Temperton, whom Jones described as one of the greatest songwriters to ever live, possessing the melodic and contrapuntal gifts of a classical composer. Temperton was a prolific kindred spirit to Jackson. For the Thriller project alone, he wrote more than 30 potential songs, 3 of which, the title track Baby Be Mine and The Lady in My Life, made the final cut. The technical backbone of the album was provided by recording engineer Bruce Swedian and members of the band Toto, with one of the best pairs of ears in the business, was responsible for the album's vital, high-impact sound. Members of Toto, David Page, Steve Lukather, Jeff Porcaro, and Steve Porcaro were instrumental to the sessions, with their versatility allowing them to appear in some capacity on every single track on the album. Steve Porcaro's contribution was particularly significant, as he composed the music for the atmospheric ballad Human Nature. The Thriller sessions were a playground for cutting-edge studio techniques, most notably the Acusonic recording process. This method synchronized multiple 24-track tape machines to create an unprecedented number of tracks, allowing Jones to strategically layer different sound characters to achieve a rich and depth that set a new industry standard. The team also fully embraced the power of new synthesizers to create unique textures. Despite his reliance on high-tech precision, Quincy Jones maintained a guiding philosophy of leaving space for gold to walk through the room. He believed that the producer should never try to overplan or fill up every moment, instead intentionally leaving an opportunity for the unexpected to happen. This balance of meticulous engineering and creative openness allowed for the magic that defined the album's most legendary moments. Wanna Be Starting Something serves as an explosive introduction to Thriller, establishing a sonic bridge back to the disco energy of Michael Jackson's previous album, Off the Wall. Although it was originally penned for his sister LaToya about her personal relationship struggles, Michael eventually recorded it himself, reworking a 1978 demo for the Thriller sessions. This track is a complex fusion of post-disco, funk and afropop, characterized by raw emotional conviction and lyrics that lash out against media gossip and unnecessary rumor-mongering. Its most famous element is the climactic Mama Say Mama Sa chant, which was adapted from Cameroonian saxophonist Manu Dibango's Sol Makossa. Reaching number 5 on the Billboard Top 100, the song served as the album's 4th consecutive top 10 hit and became a staple for Jackson's live concert openings. The album then transitions into Baby Be Mine, a smooth, mid-tempo piece written by Rod Temperton and produced by Quincy Jones. Often viewed as a direct stylistic descendant of the hit Rock With You, it is only one of 2 tracks on the entire record that was never released as a single. Producer Quincy Jones intended for the song to pay homage to jazz history, specifically bebop and the progressive jazz slice of saxophonist John Coltrane. While it features intricate synth work and a pulsing groove, some critics have argued that the song slows the momentum established by the opening track, though fans often regard it as a hidden classic that has remained fresh over the decades. Jackson reportedly had to stretch his natural tenor voice to release the challenging key required for the final recording. Rounding out the first 3 tracks is the lead single The Girl Is Mine, a soft rock and pop ballad featuring Paul McCartney. Michael Jackson wrote the song after Quincy Jones suggested a narrative about two men fighting over the same woman, and the resulting recording session was noted for its light-hearted atmosphere of jokes and kibitzing between the two icons. Though it was a major commercial success, topping the R&B charts and peaking at number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, it received mixed reviews from critics who found its lyrics somewhat shallow or sappy, compared to the rest of the masterpiece. Despite this reception, the duet was a strategic choice as the first public introduction to the album, and served a significant cultural role in helping to normalize interracial love on the radio. It features several members of the band Toto on the instrumental track and concludes with a playful spoken word banter between Jackson and McCartney. Widely considered Michael Jackson's greatest artistic achievement, Billie Jean was a deeply personal track, inspired by the obsessive groupies Jackson and his brothers encountered while touring. The narrative follows a woman who stalks the narrator, claiming he has fathered her child, a story influenced by real-life disturbing letters and threats Jackson received. Musically, the song is defined by its lean, insistent funk, and a sparse bass-driven arrangement that provides a sonic personality so unique it could be identified in its first few notes. This perfection was the result of a rigorous production process where engineer Bruce Sweden mixed the song 91 times before Jackson and producer Quincy Jones ultimately referred to the second mix for the final version. Jackson famously had to fight Jones to keep the song's long instrumental introduction, winning only when he insisted that the groove was what made him want to dance. Beyond the studio, Billie Jean became a cultural phenomenon. Its music video was the first by a black artist to receive heavy rotation on MTV, effectively breaking the network's color barrier. And Jackson's performance at the Motown 25 special introduced a signature moonwalk to 47 million viewers. To ensure the album reached a massive multiracial audience, Quincy Jones encouraged Jackson to write a ghetto rock and roll song, which resulted in the hard rock masterpiece Beat It. The track centers on a message of anti-violence, with lyrics warning that one does not have to be a macho man or die to prove their manhood. The song's defining feature is a blistering guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen, who performed the part for free as a favor and famously played so loud that he caused a studio monitor speaker to catch fire. This aggressive fusion of R&B and rock helped demolish the long-standing segregation between black and white music on mainstream radio. The accompanying music video furthered this theme of reconciliation by casting 80 genuine members of rival Los Angeles street gangs, the Crips and the Bloods, who joined Jackson in a mass-synchronized choreography to demonstrate that violence was not the solution to their problems. The transition to the album's title track, Thriller, marked a radical sonic shift into what has been described as gothic funk. Written by Rod Temperton, the song was originally titled Starlight before being renamed to better suit Jackson's evolving, mysterious persona and its inherent merchandising potential. Temperton wanted to create a theatrical experience, incorporating cinematic horror motifs such as creaking doors, thunder, footsteps, and howling wolves, the latter of which Jackson recorded himself after a dog failed to perform on cue. The song's iconic spoken word rap was delivered by horror legend Vincent Price, who recorded his part in just 2 takes using the lyrics Temperton had scribbled in a taxi on his way to the studio. While the single itself was a major hit, it was the 14-minute short film directed by John Landis that secured the song's place in history. This mini-movie, which featured Jackson morphing into a werewolf and leading a horde of zombies in an elaborate dance, transformed music videos into a serious art form and became the first of its kind inducted into the National Film Registry. Following the tension and grit of Billie Jean and Beat It, the album shifts into a more atmospheric and celebratory mood. Human Nature provides an explosion of color through its shimmering synth strings and an introspective narrative. Keyboardist Steve Porcaro of the band Toto wrote a rough sketch after his young daughter came home crying because a boy had pushed her off a slide, leading him to comfort her by saying, "It's human nature." Producer Quincy Jones accidentally discovered this demo on the reverse side of a cassette tape, and immediately recognized its wonderful flavor. While the musical foundation remained largely unchanged from the demo, songwriter John Bettis was brought in to replace the dummy lyrics with poetic verses about a magnetic, neon-lit New York City. The final recording is a Kaleidoscope Harmonic College, featuring a Yamaha CS80 synthesizer, to create its signature indecent string sounds. Michael Jackson famously recorded the lead vocal in a single take after midnight, having just woken up from a nap on a studio couch. The mood transitions from pensive to playful with PYT, Pretty Young Thing, which was the 6th top 10 single from the album. The title originated when Quincy Jones' wife brought home lingerie, featuring the phrase Pretty Young Thing, prompting Jones to ask several songwriters to craft a track around the name. While Jackson and Greg Philonganis initially recorded a mid-tempo demo, Jones pushed for a version with more funk and flair, leading him to task R&B singer James Ingram with rewriting it. The high-energy result features Jackson's sisters Janet and LaToya providing the PYT backing vocals, marking the only other family members to appear on the album. The production is notable for its robo-accented hooks and helium-pitched chipmunk vocals, achieved by programming a vocoder. Despite being dismissed by some critics at the time as fluff, the song has endured a classic Saturday night party staple. The album concludes on the intimate note with the quiet storm ballad The Lady in My Life. Written by Rod Temperton, the song was originally intended for Frank Sinatra, but Jackson transformed it into one of the most sophisticated and nuanced vocal performances of his career. To capture the necessary level of sensual conviction, Quincy Jones challenged Jackson to literally beg for the vocal, leading the artist to record the track with the studio lights off to reduce self-consciousness. During the final mixing progress, the team was forced to trim the song for length, cutting out an entire second verse to arrive at the final 5-minute version. However, they preserved the legendary minute-and-a-half ad-lib outro, which critics have since lauded as a masterclass in the soul man tradition. As the final track, it provides a sense of romantic commitment and closure to the heartbreak themes explored in Jackson's earlier work. The global impact of Thriller was marked by record-breaking achievements and fundamentally transformed the music industry. The pinnacle of the Thriller era occurred at the 1984 Grammy Awards, where Jackson won a record-breaking 8 awards in a single night. These honors include Album of the Year and Record of the Year for Beat It, as well as awards across 3 different genres: pop, rock and R&B. His categories include Best Rock Vocal Performance Male for Beat It, Best R&B Song and Best R&B Vocal Performance Male for Billie Jean, and Best Vocal Performance Male for Thriller. His 8th Grammy of the Night was awarded for his narration of the E.T. Extraterrestrial audiobook in the Best Recording for Children category. The sweep served as a monumental validation for Jackson, who had felt snubbed by his peers after the success of his previous album Off the Wall. Beyond its critical acclaim, Thriller remains the best-selling album of all time, with estimated global sales exceeding 70 million copies. At its commercial peak, the album sold more than 1 million copies per week. Its reach crossed every imaginable barrier, resonating with fans regardless of race, age, or economic status. Internationally, the album topped charts in countries such as Japan, Australia, France, Italy, and the United Kingdom, and even reached the Soviet Union through bootleg cassettes, despite being officially banned there. It transitioned from being a mere leisure into being a household staple that defined the pop culture college of 1980s. In conclusion, today, Thriller is referred as the ultimate blueprint and the Rosetta Stone for modern pop music, establishing a gold standard to which all subsequent pop artists aspire. By shattering generic boundaries and merging diverse musical styles, Michael Jackson created a work of beloved omnipresence that continues to serve as a textbook for the industry. Its permanence as a pillar of American culture was formally recognized in 2008 when it was inducted into the National Recording Registry by the Library of Congress for its profound cultural and aesthetic significance. Ultimately, Jackson succeeded in his ambitious quest to build monuments with sound, leaving behind a project that transcended the labels of mere commercial success. As a final reflection on his legacy, the album did more than just break records. It achieved a global connection so deep that it appeared as though Michael Jackson just successfully syncopated the whole world to his own unique and insistent rhythmic pulse. Bye.